Senator Dave Cortese, thank you so much for making time for us.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So you sent a list of questions to the DMV a week ago asking for clarity on this driver's license test situation. Have you gotten any answers from them yet?
No answers yet from the DMV. I did send a letter about a week ago. I think there were about a dozen questions in that letter. Those questions were not off the cuff questions. They were questions that my Senate Transportation Committee staff helped me write so that we could get that information and try to determine whether there's a legislative response to what's going on. But so far, no response. But I do assure you that we will be following up with DMV and pushing them for a response soon.
I mean, the DMV really hasn't provided many details, to you or to us, other than to say that cheating is involved in this situation. What's your response to that?
The DMV seems to have a culture that allows them to respond in a way that is very antithetical, very opposite of the way most elected officials, most legislators are trained. For example, they'll say, how many licenses have been issued over the last 6 months is not public information. Well, how can it not be public information? They're public documents. It's a public agency, the Department of Motor Vehicles, probably one of the most public-facing agencies we have in the state of California. I think there's over 1 million driver's licenses at any point in time, maybe more than that. Why can't they answer basic questions? At times we've heard them over the last 5 or 6 years complain about IT problems. Get them fixed. I'm not sure you even need IT to figure out how many driver's licenses you've issued, over the last 6 months or a year, or how many have been retracted and why. And that's where this 11,000 becomes kind of a double-edged issue. One of it is, the massive inconvenience it has on people, especially if they're righteous, especially if they've done the right thing, if they've checked off all the boxes, literally and figuratively, they've passed their test, they need to drive, and all of a sudden they're called back. They're called back as if that test is no good, and no explanation from the DMV other than about a one paragraph explanation we've seen. And by the way, the media explanation they've given, which again is about one short paragraph, is the same explanation they've given us orally at this point. So when I say there's been no response to my letter, let me clarify that the DMV has responded to ad hoc questions that we've asked, one-off questions, individual questions that I've asked, that my staff has asked, and their response thus far has been to resend the same statement they've sent to the media to us. Now, no disrespect to the media, but I would say if the Senate Transportation Chair is asking transportation questions to a transportation agency in the state of California, we should be getting an articulated response, not some buzzwords that they're sending out to the media. And I don't think it's right what they're sending out to the media either. You're doing the job of letting the public know what's going on.
Right, but to your point though, the Senate Transportation Committee is involved in setting policy and helps determine what dollars are sent to this agency. And just to again circle back to, I think what you were getting at, this essentially their reasoning of a potential cheating investigation. To clarify, in your eyes, that's not a reason to keep information from the public. Is that accurate to say?
That is accurate to say. I don't think cheating or even ongoing investigations that have been referred to law enforcement. We've heard rumored, and not directly from DMV, that some of these 11,000 may have been referred to local district attorneys or to law enforcement at some level. Law enforcement is a public agency as well. In each county, our AG's office, puts information out constantly. Sure, they don't need to go into the specifics of evidence or evidentiary questions, but they can at least tell us specifically where those violations occurred, what the nature of them is, how they've determined that there's penal code violations in the first place or fraud, what specifically the remedies are for that. Are people prone to go to jail? Are those misdemeanors? Are they infractions? I mean, these are basic questions we can't get answers to at this point. And I think that, creates a second tier of concern here, beyond, anxiety and beyond fear among everyday Californians that a routine transaction at the Department of Motor Vehicles may get them in trouble somehow through no fault of their own, perhaps. You have this public policy question as to, um, how are they spending the money that the legislature appropriates for them? Are they spending it, to target the right people, the wrong people? Um, what's their follow up on that? And what's law enforcement doing about it to the extent that they're involved? So, look, we know so little that, for all I know, 11,000 gotchas on a DMV application, on a driver's license application, out of a million applications or whatever the number is, that might be legit. But if it is, they should just tell us. If they need support for that kind of work, we'd like to hear about it. If it's appropriate, we'd like to hear about it. If it's not, if there's mistakes, if they don't have checks and balances in there to make sure they're not catching good people in this web that they're casting, in this dragnet that they're casting, then I think there is legislative policy that's going to have to respond to it.
I know, I mean, when you all come back, when the legislature is back in session in the beginning of August, I mean, I know you have a condensed time period to get a lot of things done, but do you foresee the Senate Transportation Committee potentially having an oversight hearing on this?
Well, there's a couple members of the committee, the chair and the vice chair, that have shown great interest in this. I can only imagine when the other members come back, and there's more than a dozen members on that committee. I think 17 at last count. It's bipartisan. There's been a bipartisan response to this so far. This has been very consistent. This isn't an issue of Republicans and Democrats not agreeing. This is an issue of people wanting answers from both parties, from both sides of the aisle. So I think it's quite possible that either in my committee, we haven't gone that far yet, but if we don't get answers that are satisfactory, the next step is generally to call a public hearing before the Transportation Committee. Sometimes we do that jointly with the other house, with the California State Assembly. That's absolutely not out of the question. That we might do that sooner rather than later. And I'd say the latest we would do that would be right after the first year when everybody comes back. So we have a full complement of legislators there to ask their questions.
Senator Cortese, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.